Greetings sailors, welcome back to World of Warships, and today I'm going to show off a premium cruiser game. Except it's not the premium cruiser I wanted to show you. The Indianapolis, which is out on NA already and is quite possibly coming out on EU on the day this video goes up, we were given it to preview. It's a tier 7 American premium cruiser, and basically the preview version was bugged. The model was wrong. It was taking far too much damage from even things like destroyer HE shells. So my experience playing it is not going to be the experience of those people actually buying the ship. And I've been prodding Wargaming EU for several days now, since last week in fact, to see if we can't get it back now it's fixed. So we can actually see how it is when it's not fundamentally broken. But so far the prodding has produced absolutely no result, and as it is coming out on EU very shortly, well, I'm not particularly hopeful that we'll get it, but you never know, I might do. I might even just buy the thing, although that kind of depends on having enough cash, and given that Tankfest is coming up in only a couple of weeks, I'm going to have to be good about things like that. So instead, here's a game in the Atago. So this is also a pretty good premium cruiser, and well, I can say the Indianapolis is not bad. In fact, I think it's probably better than the Pensacola, but I've never played the Pensacola, so I wouldn't know exactly. But the Atago is almost considered likewise better than its regular counterpart, the Mogami. And the Mogami hasn't always been so. I think it was better regarded before the change to the AFT captain skill, because you had the option of using the stock 152mm guns, but using AFT with that and actually getting a pretty nice range, or using the 8-inch guns, which, I don't know, they don't seem to be a particularly popular choice, and maybe I'll find out for myself sooner rather than later, because I do now have the Mogami unlocked. But the Atago, well, what it does have is a heel, which no other tier 8 cruiser has. It's got an extremely good torpedo arc, better than any of the other Japanese cruisers from tier 7 up, I think. And it's also just very, very stealthy. In fact, if you've got the captain's skill, you can do stealth torpedo drops with this thing. So it's no wonder that this is the cruiser of choice in team battles. It's just a very good all-round premium cruiser. In fact, just an all-round good cruiser, full stop. And again, having not played the Mogami, I can't make a direct comparison, but it seems like it's as good as, if not better than, the regular tier 8. And that almost is a bit of a problem when the premium ships are better than the regular ships for their tier. But maybe that just means they'll, buff the Mogami and the Pensacola and the like at some point, so that they aren't quite so painful. But anyway, I'd almost rather it be at the level of consistency it is in Warships, though. There are very few bad premiums in Warships, whereas you look at World of Tanks and the results of it's all over the place. It's all over the place, and I think it's possibly because they have bigger teams doing these things in World of Tanks, or they have different methodologies. But yeah, you look at the ships that come out sometimes and you think they want people to... Ships? Wow. Tanks. You think they want people to pay money for this? And sometimes with those ones, even though it's very obvious they are deficient, like say the Canonian Jagdpanzer, it takes them a very long time to fix it. And in the case of the Canonian Jagdpanzer, which I picked out for a reason, they buffed it, but they also gave it a nerf at the same time, because reasons. So yeah, I'd almost rather it is the way in Warships than it is in World of Tanks. And the Atago is, or the Atago, I never know which way to pronounce it. It's definitely one of the better known examples of that, but it's definitely not the only one. Anyway, the action in this game has been quite inconsequential so far, but it's about to get good because this Tirpitz has just hove into view. Now, I did a little bit of sudden rocky island, I don't even know what to call it. I just had that phrase from the West Wing pop into my mind from the very first season. In fact, it might even have been the very first episode of the president riding his bicycle into the tree and making a sudden arboreal stop. And I was trying to think, what's a good way to say that, but saying an island instead of a tree. And it did not come to me at all. So 10 out of 10 there, brain. Well done. But anyway, this Derp hits, and I'm going to call him a Derp hits because you'll see what happens. He's a little bit of a concern to me, but he's actually firing at our Turpits. And although he's well within torpedo range, these would be making shots at a bow-on ship. So although it's a bit risky, me basically showing him a broadside like this, he's completely ignoring me. And I'm keeping a careful eye on his guns, even though I'm shooting at him, still ignoring me, to see if they start turning in my direction. And if they do, I can maybe start throwing in some maneuvers. But there we go. I can see he's actually starting to maneuver himself, so we're going to make the drop. And he's possibly... Oh, yes, there we go. The guns are now pointed my way. But the fact that he's burning, well, and the fact that he is paying attention, surely I won't get lucky. I won't get the torpedoes. I won't get the flooding damage. Because if he's burning, that means he doesn't have his... damage control party available. But no, look at that. Look at that swarm of fish. That flock of torpedoes. These are both the proper technical terms, as I'm sure you're well aware. And there we go. Yes, that's one Turpits and quite a lot of torpedo damage. And this really is the point of this replay, is just how much torpedo damage I do, which is a little unusual for me in this particular machine. If I do well, it tends to have been with the guns. But you can't discount the torpedoes in this. And even compared to the Miyoko, which is a very good little tier 7, well, not so little tier 7 cruiser, the torpedoes on this are just so much more useful because you've got that arc. You can release them without having to turn your entire ship to show your tail, basically. However, even though the Turpis is out of the equation, we are now... again, once more troubled by incoming fire, and this time it's probably something that's a bit more dangerous, actually. It's a Cleveland, and he's knocked out my steering, so, I'm slightly a sitting target right now. I've killed my speed because I don't want to be flailing around in circles uncontrollably, but even though this means because it would turn me back towards them, I don't want to go back towards them, but it does mean I'm possibly an easier target to hit, so I'm going to maybe put on a bit more speed here, but not going to go full pelt. Now, I'm going to get my damage control party back very, very soon, but I'm not going to notice. It's one of those moments when I'm so focused on... I said so focused on face palming, what? That sounds like a thing Caption Guy would say. No comment. I'm so focused on firing, there we go, word that starts with an F, that I didn't notice until just then. So I'm now actually pointed back in the direction of all of these nasty things. Now, I do have some destroyer backup, but they are getting... they must be spotted. They are getting some fire themselves. So I'm going to try again with torpedoes, but this is much more of a chancy drop just based on the distance. This is towards the edge of the range here. And this guy has to be concerned about torpedoes because he knows there's destroyers nearby, so quite possibly mine aren't going to do anything either. But yeah, that Cleveland is also still alive, and I couldn't shoot at him because obviously he was behind the island, but he's about to come out again, and I really need to switch my focus to him. I need to try and take him down, and instead... I think I make a bit of an error here. I keep prioritising that North Carolina when I should have gone for the Cleveland, because the Cleveland's now pulled out into the open water. He's actually taken down one of the destroyers, or was it the battleship that did that? I don't know, but either way, my support is rapidly melting. Oh, actually, no, I tell a lie. I've just glanced at the minimap. No, he didn't kill the destroyer. He's just knocked it down to the point where the destroyer wished he was dead. 25 hit points. Yes. Anyway, so he's not in good shape, and there's that North Carolina. Well, he's a bit closer. This is somewhat dicey, though. I'm actually going to start taking some damage at this point. And there we go. We actually have lost one of those destroyers now. So, still completely focused on the North Carolina. I'm making the torp drop. Okay, fair enough. He's close enough to make this a very worthwhile prospect. But I should absolutely be going for that Cleveland. I really should. He's already wrecked one of our destroyers, and he's pretty broadside to me right now. He's also just a danger from the fact that he can set me on fire, and hey look, he has just set me on fire and knocked out a turret. Come on, Jedi, shoot the Cleveland. Come on, shoot the Cleveland. You can do it. So I've loaded up AP shells. I really was quite lucky that I didn't drop those a moment later, because our destroyer would not have been happy if I'd have dropped those torpedoes in his face. So there we go. And as it turned out, that guy who had been backing behind the island, and I thought my torps were all going to miss, started going forwards again. So there's another 2 torpedo hits. And this also looks like I might get another torp hit here as well. This guy is just going to sail right into them. He's frantically doing some tactical beaching, but it's not going to matter because there we go. So that just leaves the North Carolina. So while all this action has been going on, most of each team has been rapidly dying. We've got a Myoko that's running up the 4 line. We've got a Fuso who's stuck back down south and isn't going to last that much longer. We've got myself and we've got a Minakaze. And this is quite on a knife edge, actually. We've got 2 cap circles each. So we need to get capping because we're going to lose that Fuso, and indeed we do. So this is skipping ahead a bit. And this is myself and the Minakaze capping, and he does get most of the cap points. So that's obviously going to reflect well for him on the score screen. But he's also going to go through and cap D as well, and that is going to give us the edge. Now, it was actually kind of an asymmetric battle. We had not a lot happened at the very start. Then the Turpits turned up even, and it all kicked off. And from that point, it was just solid minutes of action. And then we got to the last half of the battle, almost, where really not a lot happened. And it was basically a process of, well, if we just stay alive, we can win on points. So it was a bit of a boring ending, really, but on the other hand, we won. We could have taken the really high-risk option of going up against those enemy ships, but it would have been not the smart move. And it possibly would have cost us the match. So instead, we all bravely ran away, and it's going to win us the game. So this was, just in terms of torpedo damage alone, a pretty unusual result for me. I don't normally do anything like this amount of torpedo damage in my Atago. I don't normally get this kind of credit result in this ship, but yes, no, I was not displeased with it, and it actually put me at the top of the team, well at the top of the team. So it was just that one Turpits that was so unwary about torpedoes, and I got to take so much of his health, and then I got to do some damage after that, but he just set me up so nicely. So that was, I don't even know how much damage. Normally I do a kind of tally, but that was over 100,000 damage. That had to be like 130, 140, maybe even 150k damage. So even outside of the torpedo hits, I'd just be happy with that in any battleship game, let alone a cruiser game. So for me to walk away with it in this game was particularly pleasing, because I don't normally get that kind of result at all. So yes, the Indianapolis. Hopefully I will get it to play with, and I'll be able to say I think this is worth your money, because in the state it was in before it was fixed, when we didn't even know if it was bugged or not, I was kind of iffy, but it's apparently better now, and hopefully I'll get to actually try it out for myself and maybe give it a recommendation or not. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this stand-in premium cruiser video anyway, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you aren't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.